Welcome to America's Mayor Live, and this is Rudy Giuliani. As and the reason you see Washington in the background is, of course, that's the center of everything going on right now. Turmoil, turmoil, turmoil. But a clear path toward glory, toward a resurrected America, an America once again based on the principles of our founding fathers. That's where we're going. And during his State of the Union speech this weekend, which has been almost uniformly praised for many different reasons, including the substance of it, even including the delivery of it, I don't know if it's been praised enough for the fact that it was poetic. It lifted us. It had what I call, in the book that I wrote on leadership and the lectures I give on leadership, it had the most important quality a leader can do in times of peril. Lift your eyes up to the future. And boy, did he do that. To a future even greater than today. And isn't that what we're about? A more perfect union. We're never satisfied. Now, we were in the darkest days in our history in many respects in the last 4 years. So lifting our eyes is always necessary. This was critical. Otherwise, we were going down. And when you look at the flurry of activities, the unbelievable things that have been done in the first 3 weeks, matching anything done in the past, Roosevelt's first 100 days, or, Lincoln was to build up to the Civil War. This had to be the most productive period for a president taking office. It also had to be one of the biggest, most jarring redirections of a country, from headed right into more and more communism and socialism, one after the other, and depravity. Men allowed in women's bathrooms, men allowed in women's sports, chopping the genitals of children off. I mean, we were going to hell with satanic Marxism as our guide. Boom, flipped it right around. And we haven't achieved everything yet, but we know what direction we're going in now. That's what a leader does. Remember Obama? I lead by following. That had to be the beginning of the Democrat Orwellian word contradictions. What is following? It's standing behind and letting other people go first. How do you lead by following? What do? Yell to the leader, go the other way? Is that the way Patton marched through France to get to Berlin before anyone did, including the Russians, and then got held back because Roosevelt and Truman were surrounded by communists so that they could take Eastern Europe, Poland, and part of Germany? No. Patton didn't do all that by leading by following. He led, nor did MacArthur when he took the islands back, or Abraham Lincoln when he got us through the Civil War, or John F. Kennedy when he inspired an entire new generation with a new frontier, or Ronald Reagan. Maybe in many ways one of our greatest presidents, unless the present one keeps going the way he's going. Oh, maybe, just maybe, they'll open their eyes and see it. Well, I don't know where to start. There's so much going on. Let's start right now with Israel, because it looks like talks are going to begin again. And they're going to begin in Saudi Arabia and, in Ukraine. And they're going to begin, because you would think they'd be in Saudi Arabia over the Middle East, right? And Ukraine will be part of it. Now, I don't know if little Zelensky will be in it or not. So there is a complete, absolute denial everywhere that America would like to see Zelensky gone. I don't believe any of it. I think we're going to get this war over. We're going to get it settled, and it's going to get settled on pretty solid terms, about as good as could be possibly negotiated for the Ukraine people, without threatening a world war. The real question is, what the hell do we need that little crook around for? I know he's lauded by the Europeans. That should be a strike against him. I mean, that's one loser after another. Look at what their governments are doing. Keir Starmer in Britain, putting people in jail for what they think. Macron, who got a country that wants him gone, except he won't call an election. Country that's fallen apart. Germany, that went from one of the most productive countries to one of the least productive countries, and then elects a right winger who wants to make a government with the communists, the socialists. I mean, the rest of Europe, Western Europe, doesn't seem much better. I mean, Italy is the only bright light. Hungary. Go to Eastern Europe, different story. Great respect for those governments. Those governments have experience with communism, experience with tyranny, and they are considerably more productive, realistic, and have enormous common sense in comparison to Western Europe. So the idea of like pushing them aside a little and increasing our interest and relationships with Hungary and Poland and Lithuania and Latvia and the Czech Republic and Slovenia and Slovakia, and I don't want to miss one, Greece, Italy. I missed a few, but you're all in my thoughts. Albania, Armenia. I got a little trouble with Azerbaijan. You better stop killing the Armenians. God damn it. Damn it. I know what you're doing. It's the same Muslim crap. When we talk about the Armenian genocide by the Turks, it was Muslims killing Christians. It wasn't Turks killing Armenians. When Azerbaijan comes over and kills Armenians, it's Muslims killing Christians. Muslims kill Christians. Not all Muslims, not every Muslim, but more than enough to worry about it. In Africa, wow. And somebody's got to stand up for Christians. There are people that stand up for the Uyghurs. I do. But who stands up for the Christians? Everybody's afraid. I mean, Christians are just expendable. I mean, one would make an argument that it's been the most dominant and humanizing force in world history, particularly with its Judeo-Christian background. And we're going to allow them to be slaughtered without the same attention that we give to others? Doesn't make any sense. So I am concerned that there were talks there were talks moving ahead about peace in the Middle East and about Hamas, with Adam Boehler, who is who's Trump's leading hostage, leading talks with Hamas in Doha, saying there's a positive spirit with Hamas, but the Israelis weren't involved in it. Now, Adam, come on. Don't do that. There's nothing you're going to achieve without the Israelis. Come on. I know you might be really smart and maybe the president's got a lot of trust in you. I got worries that you haven't included the Israelis in that talk. Now, Bibi got us through for the last year all by himself. Let's show him due respect, huh? If it wasn't for Bibi, we wouldn't be having any of these talks. If it wasn't for Bibi, Hamas would still be there. Hezbollah would be sitting in Syria, and Assad would be sitting in Syria, and Hezbollah would be sitting in Syria and Lebanon, and the Houthis would be kicking the shit out of us. Bibi fought the war for America. Bibi defended the American troops when our cowardly, pro Islamic extremist administration didn't do it. You want to make peace there, you got to satisfy the people that are at risk there, our great friends, the Israelis. Maybe this is a misreport. Maybe it's a wrong report. Just on the chance that it is, include the Israelis. Not going to be very popular in this country if you don't. There isn't much room for excluding the Israelis. There's no room for it, given what we owe to them for having fought this battle for us when we didn't have Donald Trump. When we had people in the White House and the State Department who, I'm sorry, I would regard as traitors. So maybe this is an incorrect report, but according to the Israeli government, they weren't given any notice of the decisions and the discussions with Hamas. I'm sorry, Adam, I don't even know you, but I know you don't know as much about it as the Israelis do. And I trust them. Sorry, pal. I know Bibi for almost as many years as Donald Trump. I trust them implicitly. I don't know you. So don't let this happen again, huh? I don't want to hear that. We're having conversations with Hamas without, I mean, the last time America had conversations without Hamas, without Israel, they pull the wool over our eyes. Maybe they're more realistic than we are because it's their lives that are at stake, not ours. Let's learn to treat our friends like friends. And I think within the administration, somebody's got to have a talk with you, pal. Okay. So there was a great expose in the New York Post today of how many Palestinians are completely disgusted with Hamas and actually view Trump's suggestion that they get moved out of Gaza as a positive one because they don't think they're able to govern Gaza. These are Palestinians. They believe that if Gaza is reconstructed in any way with Palestinians in any degree of control, it'll become pro-Hamas very quickly because the Palestinians who are speaking out, the small percentage of them, realize how brainwashed the Palestinian community is. Now, please understand that let's get beyond the left-wing propaganda here. Hamas is Hamas, and it's a terrorist organization. And people will say, well, if you get rid of Hamas and you have the Palestinians, that's fine. But you try to distinguish between the Palestinians and Hamas, and you're really going to find a very difficult time. And there's a reason for that. It has nothing to do with xenophobia, prejudice, or anything else. It has to do with just plain common sense. Palestinians have been for the last 30 to 40 years, maybe longer, trained from the time they're born that their mortal enemy are the Jewish people, and the number two mortal enemy are you and me. There are Palestinians who can overcome that, right? Some people can overcome lifelong brainwashing. Most people cannot, which is why they cheered when Hamas went into Israel and killed men, women, and children who were innocent. That's why they cheered when someone unrelated to them, really, bin Laden came to America and killed our people. Or they celebrated all over Gaza and all over the West Bank. The Palestinians hate the Jews. They are committed to the destruction of the Jewish people. Their type of Arab were strong allies of Hitler. The Grand Mufti of Palestine was one of Hitler's strongest allies and close friends. That goes over, by the way, Secretary Rubio, to Bosnia-Herzegovina, which you just sided with against a Christian country that they're persecuting. So please catch up with that. I know it's a mistake, but catch up with it. It concerns me greatly. So the reality is that there are some Palestinians, like there are in any country where they have this massive brainwashing in communist countries and Nazi countries and countries like that. There are people who can overcome that. And those Palestinians are unloading on vile Hamas now. And it was in the Post today. They have no faith in Hamas to help them, and they're not counting on the Arab world to come to the defense of the Palestinians anytime soon. A Palestinian named Marwan spoke to the Post. He's relying on the U.S. He likes Trump's suggestion. He'd like to see an established Palestinian community, maybe somewhere else. And he referred to the rest of the Palestinian and Arab countries that have been supporting Hamas as they're all traitors. They're all cheats. That's true. They're either terrorists or they steal money. It's either Hamas or Fatah, which has stole all their money. They're all cheats. Boy, this guy's right on. I'd like to meet this Marwan guy. He said he supports Trump's vision of a rebuilt Riviera or a city-state like Singapore, as long as whoever comes in respects the property rights of the people of Gaza and not Hamas and not the hateful Palestinians.
Hey, check out what was posted.
So tell me what that is.
This is what Gaza could be: a beautiful, beautiful place on the Mediterranean Sea with beautiful hotels, beautiful shops, a rich history, a treasured history. I would love to tour some of those historic sites that they have there. There's more than we could possibly imagine.
It's like Dubai.
Oh, I think it'd be more authentic than Dubai. I mean, Dubai is beautiful, and I've spent a good deal of time in Dubai and in Qatar, and both of them are quite remarkable, but they're modern creations. There really is not much history to them because they couldn't have existed until the modern era. I mean, you couldn't have had all those tremendous office buildings and that tremendous amount of financial resources without air conditioning, or without desalinization,
or without a lot of oil money.
Well, yeah. But I mean, the reality is, even with the oil money, you wouldn't have had it. I mean, they had oil money for quite some time, and they didn't have Dubai and Qatar. What really did it is desalinization, the ability to take the water and do air conditioning. So I've been in Dubai in the middle of the summer. It's nothing like any place in the U.S. You can't walk, except you go from your air-conditioned hotel to your air-conditioned car, to your air-conditioned office, to your air-conditioned pool, to your air-conditioned basketball game or indoor soccer game that's done in air conditioning, to the Olympics done in air conditioning.
Or the indoor ski resort.
You got it, the indoor ski resort.
Indoor ski resort.
Yeah, but so it's a modern creation. Gaza, however, has a history going back to the Philistines. Great seamen of the ancient world, great inventors, great scientists. Gaza was their seaport. A lot of people believe, although it's debatable among scholars, that the term Palestine comes from the Philistines. I don't completely buy that, but in any event, here's the other thing you got to know, really difficult for them to take. There are no such things historically as Palestinian people. There was a Palestine as a place, but there were no Palestinian people. There was no nationality known as Palestinians. Do you know who explains that best? Yasser Arafat, who takes credit for creating the Palestinians and laughs about it. He was an Egyptian, and he made up Palestinian in order to become a very clear focal point for destruction of Israel. So when people say that Israel has no right to that land, I don't know. It just goes back about 3,000 years. That's where Abraham came from. When did the Palestinians arrive? Around the time of Arafat, during the 20th century. Otherwise, the Arab involvement in Israel and that area were as Bedouins. There weren't Arab states there. It was controlled by Rome. And Israel probably has the earliest claim to any kind of nationality there. So stop the degradation of history. And I think Gaza, in Israel, there's a wonderful place that I love to go called Caesarea Philippi. It's right on the Mediterranean. It's the old Roman fort. And I don't know if they put them there, but everybody that goes there finds a Roman coin. They tell you to go into the sand and search for Roman coins, and somehow you come up with one. I just have a feeling somebody came there from Brooklyn, some enterprising guy, and said, "Okay, we're going to make Caesarea Philippi. I'm going to throw in all these from. Please don't get angry at me. They probably are. I have a couple of these coins. They're actually coming back to me because they were taken from me in all my property that was taken in what happened to me. But I'm going to get them back in a couple of weeks.
We'll have to go over them. Do you have any from the era of Christ, like when Jesus?
Well, I don't know. I got the first one I got was when I went there. I mean, I've been to Israel about 20 times, maybe 25 times, maybe 15 of those times I go to Caesarea Philippi. So if I go with somebody new, I always take them there.
You use a metal detector to try to find them?
No, you just dig in the ground, you come up with one.
Imagine if you had a metal detector, you'd be billions of them. Then
I don't think they let you use one.
Well, they've minted a lot of coins, and that's the thing. I've purchased some of these coins, may or may not be real, obviously, but
okay, I'm going to tell you a story. When I bought my first nativity scene, nativity crash and thing in Jerusalem, downtown Jerusalem. In 1985, when I was there with the Speaker of the City Council and a whole bunch of New Yorkers, we were there doing a tour of Israel. It's when I first met Bibi and when I first met a number of the government officials in Israel. And it's when my affection for Israel, which was always there, really solidified. I was also there digging up records on one, the two Nazis that I helped to expel from the United States to their execution. So my wife and I wanted to buy a nativity scene there. So we went to downtown Jerusalem, and she was a much better negotiator than I was. And all of a sudden, she's negotiating over on the side. The group of people were negotiating they were Arabs. I'm thinking, I don't know if it's a good idea if we buy like a nativity scene from a bunch of Muslims, but so they begin like $900. And she says $20. And I said, well, let's go now. They said, no, 500. She said, 25. 400. 30. 300. We got it for $90. It began at 1,000.
Nice nativity scene.
Beautiful nativity scene. She now has it.
They didn't claim that it was, 1,000 years old, though, right?
Oh, who knows what they claimed?
Yeah.
But I'm going to warn you: if you go into Jerusalem and you go into that section, do not take the first price. And all of that is in good fun. The same thing happens. They have a market in Dubai. Really, it's fabulous. Yeah. And they got one in Qatar that's even better. I mean, you go in there and they got this. I don't know if it's gold or it isn't gold. And they start at 10,000 and you end up at 20. It's ridiculous.
So I'm going to go with not gold.
Yeah.
But there is a big, robust gold market outside Dubai. Oh my gosh, you got to go and see it.
But I'm saying Gaza could have possibilities beyond the two of those because it has a really legitimate history in the ancient world. I mean, you can go back to Herodotus and you can go back to the great Greek historians, the Roman historians, and you'll read about the Philistines. They were tremendous opponents and enemies.
Well, that would be a tremendous achievement, I think, if they could make that beautiful.
His ideas, when they're first expressed, are always ridiculed because of the ridiculous sickness of the Western press against him. And they always are filled with a great deal of wisdom. I mean, it's amazing. Like this whole thing with tariffs. They completely don't understand what the hell he's doing with tariffs. I mean, he's got Mexico doing everything we want in 2 weeks. he's got the jerk in Canada crying. Believe me. And China, if you read carefully, Epoch Times and the places that can report on China, not one of their official publications like the Chinese Communist New York Times. China is worried because they don't understand what Trump is doing. Well, you don't want them to understand what you're doing, jerks. You don't want your enemy to know what you're doing, right? I hope you understand that. I can't imagine anybody at the New York Times understands a word that I just said. Well, we'll be right back.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal, 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast.
Just find out. Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's Coffee.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order...
This is Rudy Giuliani, and behind me you see, I guess, one of our most iconic, most wonderful, most beautiful memorials, Abraham Lincoln. I mean, if you go to Washington and you skip it, you didn't go to Washington. Or Jefferson. And just read what's on the wall. I'm not going to tell you just read what's on the walls. And it'll tell you what we're saving and why all the sacrifices you're asked to make, whatever they are worth it. That's the way I felt going through what I went through. All I got to do is read what's on the walls of that great man's memorial, and it's all worth it. This is an exceptional, unbelievable country, graced by God. And if we feel that and we act that way, we'll continue to be. Your support for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation makes a lasting difference in real lives, like the lives of the Ernst family. When U.S. Navy Chief Petty Officer Michael Thomas Ernst was killed in a training accident, Tunnel to Towers provided a mortgage-free home to his loving family. His wife, Megan, is grateful to Tunnel to Towers and supporters like you for lifting that financial burden off her shoulders. She says their home is a safe place for her and her children, a place where they remember and feel the love of their family hero. Since Tunnel to Towers was founded in the aftermath of September 11th, the Ernst family is one of the many people that you have helped. But there's so much more to do. Many, many, many are still in need. We mustn't forget America's heroes that have given everything. And together we can say thank you to them in a lasting and meaningful way. Donate $11 a month to T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org, and do it now with that wonderful picture of the Capitol in my background there. Do it right now. And you know something? You're going to do yourself a favor. Well, I believe we have on the line one of the people that will be a major, well, I guess one of the major organizers of the demonstration tomorrow, the protest. I don't know what we want to call it. It's not really a protest. It's a statement. It's a statement of how important it is to liberate Iran from the dictatorship of the Ayatollah and the extremist Islamic Republic. And it's critical enough so that I would say, without any doubt, we can't have peace in the Middle East until the Ayatollah and his henchmen are gone. And there are ways to get there. And tomorrow's Ali Reza, how are you?
Good day, Mayor. How are you doing? Great.
Good.
To be on.
How should we properly describe tomorrow? A demonstration? I don't think it's a protest. What would you call it?
Well, it's a large rally and march for victory, for freedom in Iran. It's called Free Iran Rally. You're going to see a lot of enthusiasm on the part of the participants because they feel after years and years of resistance, years of fighting against the regime, paying a very, very high price, going through all kinds of hardships, difficulties. Sometimes you saw no light at the end of the tunnel. All of that seems to be over, and a whole new situation exists in regards to the future of Iran. On the one hand, the mullahs are so weak and desperate. On the other hand, the region has been basically taken away from the Ayatollahs. They've lost anything they have had. And then the resistance has been on the rise, and now is the time to see change. So that's the kind of momentum you will see tomorrow in front of the Capitol when, where thousands of Iranian Americans coming from all over the United States to send their message, to make sure that Washington hears them, but also the rest of the world hear them, and the people of Iran. That's the message of hope, and that's the message of a bright future, not just for Iran, but for the whole region.
It's very, very interesting, Ali Reza, that, and I hope people understand this, it really is true that you cannot have peace in the Middle East while the Ayatollah and his supporters are exercising a dictatorship, not only over Iran, but over a lot of the Middle East. I mean, they describe themselves as isn't it the Islamic Republic of Iran? Because they want to be an empire. And they've come pretty close to being an empire. Now, a lot of it's been destroyed in the last year, but they would like to reconstruct that. And that's their objective is to destroy Israel and take over the entire Middle East. Nothing less than that.
Well, as you correctly said, Mayor, the Ayatollahs, since day one, when they came to power, first of all, they had nothing to do with the people of Iran because their agenda was diametrically opposite to the agenda of the people of Iran when they overthrew the dictatorship of the Shah, with Savak, with the single-party rule of the Shah, and the very corrupt regime that basically consolidated all of the resources of the country in a single family of the Shah and the others. And they were hoping that they will put an end to it and see freedom. But since day one, when Khomeini came to power, and by the way, he came out of nowhere, he had almost no role whatsoever in the revolution. He was just sitting idle in Iraq. Only 4 months before the fall of the Shah, he saw the opportunity, moved from Iraq to Paris, stole the leadership of a genuine revolution, and instilled even more repression than the Shah, and then had this agenda of what they call export of revolution, meaning that they wanted to dominate the whole region. The reason he clinched into that strategy was that he knew that very soon the people of Iran will know his nature, they will reject him. So he needs to create his own infrastructure of promoting terrorism, creating all these proxy groups in the region, and then creating sheer repression against the population. And that's exactly what happened. Within less than 2 years, everything changed in Iran, and the people had to start fighting the ruthless rulers of Iran. And of course, it's been a very long journey, over 40 years of fighting against the Ayatollahs. But as you said, now is the time, because they have lost anything that they had in mind, that they had built on it. They lost their proxies in the region. They have lost, most importantly, the people of Iran, because the vast majority of the Iranian population are opposed to this regime. It's not just the intellectuals, it's the poor, the deprived, the smaller towns and cities who were involved in the uprising since 2017. 9 rounds of major uprisings since then. And then the opposition, namely the Mujahideen Khalq, the MEK inside Iran, and the National Council of Resistance of Iran, the parliament in exile, headquartered in Paris, headed by, the president-elect is actually Mrs. Maryam Rajavi. They have gained tremendous momentum over the past few years. All the hardship over the years, the price that they have paid, now is the time to see the results. And that's why we feel that the momentum has significantly shifted against the regime and in favor of change and democracy and peace in the region, but also freedom for the people.
So I would say, and the deep state in America and the Islamic Republic of Iran are allies, because the deep state in America has done everything it can to perpetuate the Islamic Republic of Iran, including Obama sending them hundreds of millions of dollars in cash, Biden rejuvenating them after Trump just about crushed them. They were on the verge of extinction in 2019 and 2020. You and I know that. We saw the pictures. It was a matter of time. And as soon as Biden came in, he rejuvenated them, and they went up by 100 billion or more. Well, people don't understand that. And they also don't understand that there's a government in waiting, ready to take over. We don't have to take a risk like we took in Libya or in some of these other places where we get rid of a dictator, and what do we get? We're going to get rid of not just a dictator, but one of the most fiendish people in world history. And we're going to replace them with a government based on Western values, American values that we love so much. Women in government, a woman leading the government, rights for women, a non-nuclear Iran, an Iran that's willing to make peace with everyone, and an Iran that wants to be, Madam Rajavi wants to make Iran great again, right? With a very specific 10-point plan that's out there for anybody to see, except it's suppressed by the deep state, and she is demonized by the deep state, the way Trump has been, the way I have been, the way you have been, the way anybody who stands up to them is. But they're going to get to see her tomorrow. And I want you to look at her and make your own decision. Don't listen to the deep state. Look at Madam Rajavi. And if you don't see what I see, I've been working with her how long now, Ali Reza? 13 years, 14 years, 15 years?
It's 2009.
Okay. And we've become very close, correct? Well, I'm
Very
telling my
close. And
people,
think about,
this is one of the most
yes.
extraordinary women in the world. And you're going to get a chance to see her. And don't pass up that opportunity tomorrow. I hope more than just one or two network shows her, but we'll show her. We'll show it on Sunday if we have to, on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, just like you show me in Iran. Tell them how many of my speeches have been broadcast in Iran.
Well, you know, a lot of your speeches actually either live or even after live, you know, broadcast back to Iran to show the people of Iran that, you know, unlike the claim of the Ayatollahs that they say, oh, we're you know, cutting a deal with everybody around the world. They're giving us concessions and they're respecting us. They're sitting down and giving us money and resources. No, that's not the case. Members of Congress in both parties are opposed to the Ayatollahs supporting this movement. Prominent people like yourself, and you know, there were several four-star generals who were chairman, joint chiefs, and others, senior former government officials from former secretaries of state and people key positions in the national security, coming out and saying the real terrorists are the mullahs ruling Iran. These are the freedom fighters who have sacrificed everything for the freedom of the people, of their own people, but also impacting the region. They're not just talking about it, they're acting based on their platform. They have a very clear path to a representative government. Our goal, Mrs. Rajavi has said repeatedly, our goal is not to take over power and just hang on to it. No, our goal is to transfer power from the repressive rulers of Iran to the elected representatives of the people of Iran. And, you know, Mrs. Rajavi was asked several times. She was just on the Hill via satellite last week in a hearing before the Iran Human Rights and Democracy Caucus in the House, where 9 House members came. Interestingly, very bipartisan, 5 Republicans, 4 Democrats. And the topic was the future of Iran. And you know, she presented her platform, her roadmap for change. And then she was asked, what do you want from the United States? She clearly said, you know, let me tell you what we don't want. You know, we're not asking for boots on the ground. We're not asking for money. None of that. That's all responsibility of the people of Iran. It's for us to fight and overthrow the regime. But what the outside world should do, including the United States, is that stop giving money and resources to the Iran regime. Cut off all the concessions to the regime. Don't give them money. Impose sanctions because of what they have done and they're doing right now. Recognize the right of the people of Iran to overthrow this regime. There are people who are fighting, you know, the resistance units of the MEK on the ground in Iran, in all 31 provinces, are confronting the regime, are confronting the very same Revolutionary Guards who are killing people in Iran, who are behind the nuclear weapons program, who are running the terror network, including some terror plus right here in the United States, that the people of Iran, those resistance units, have the right to confront the Revolutionary Guards and make sure that change happens through unseating the Ayatollahs. The Ayatollahs would not just leave the scene just because, you know, we condemn them or we speak up against them. No, there have to be fighting forces on the ground to push them out of power. That's what's really happening, and what the outside world should do, including the United States, is to recognize the right of those people to fight it. And unfortunately, in the past, you know, various administrations in Europe, in the United States, they wanted to cut a deal with the Iran regime by giving them concessions, taming their behavior. That never went anywhere. Yeah. They even complied with the demands of the regime. None of that worked.
Yeah, it was like Chamberlain in Munich and giving up the Sudetenland, which I thought it was really significant. The Vice President Vance went there to tell Europe, it's a new day. You better wake up. Otherwise, our civilization isn't going to be here 30 years from now. This is one of the key issues. And I hope tomorrow the American people take a good look at Madame Rajavi and make up their own mind about her. I mean, if you do, you're going to find an extraordinary woman, but not just that, an extraordinary movement made up of diverse people. You know, there were times I would go to your meetings in Paris. It was the only place I get to talk to Democrats. You had more Democrats that were willing to talk to me there than in America. I mean, I would say roughly half of your coalition is Democrat and half is Republican. And if it's a little more one than the other, I can't even tell. So you have support in the Congress. I forget the number. What's the number of actual support?
Actually, you know, over the House majority, over 240 House members, Democrats and Republicans.
I would have to go. I'm not going to even ask you how many Democrats and Republicans. I'm going to tell you it would be I'm going to tell you as somebody who's been with you for 14 years, I don't know how many Republicans and Democrats. It's pretty damn equal. And it's one of the few things when we put all the political garbage aside, we can agree on. There's no question that a free Iran would change the entire geopolitical picture. And by the way, it would also give freedom to wonderful people who have been tortured. How many of your people just in your organization have been killed, Ali Reza?
Well, over 20,000 members and supporters of the MEK were documented with their pictures,
I have the book,
names, and particulars in a red book that you have seen it, and I could have shown it here. But also the actual number is much higher. As many as 120,000 people have been executed for their political beliefs. Just in the summer of 1988, there was a massacre of political prisoners. As many as 30,000 political prisoners, vast majority of them belonging to our movement, the MEK, were murdered under the direct order of Khomeini, the supreme leader at the time, because he said that anyone who is in any way associated with this movement must be killed, because he saw them as an existential threat to the existence of the mullahs. This is one movement that has been in the forefront of the fight against the regime. This is the same movement that exposed all the major nuclear sites of Iran, has been the main target of their terrorism, has exposed all the major nuclear sites of Iran, or their terror operation, their terror network, have paid the highest price inside the country for during the massacre and the killings. But at the same time, it is the force that is in the forefront of the fight. They are the ones who acted as engine for change during the uprisings. And right now, as we speak, they are the ones who are targeting the Revolutionary Guards, trying to break this perception of invincibility of the regime as though they are 10 feet tall. No, they're showing to the people the weaknesses of the regime, and convincing the population, showing to the population that this regime can be brought down, will be brought down. But also, the future is going to be so diametrically different than what
of course.
In terms of political participation, separation of religion and state, as you said, gender equality, every issue that you touch upon it were exactly the opposite to the Ayatollahs, and that's why the regime is just going after us, not just physically, but just trying to demonize this movement, calling them terror cults, calling them Marxist, communists, anything you can think of. The regime is throwing at this movement and Mrs. Rajavi. But none of that is going to work, because when you have the facts on your side, you will eventually win. And that's the story behind the extensive support we have maintained all these years in the U.S. Congress, among the politicians, not just here but also in Europe, but also maintaining the faith and the support of the people of Iran, who continue to support this movement, continue to rely and trust this movement.
What time tomorrow?
The rally starts at 1 p.m. Right in front of the Capitol. And
which side?
Okay, it's called the Capitol ground, right next to the pool.
Is it the side where there's the inauguration, or the other side?
Yes, it's the side that is the inauguration, and that's the side.
So that's the side facing the west.
Facing the 3rd Street Southwest, facing
it's where Ronald Reagan moved the inauguration from the other side of the Capitol, which faces east, to the side of the Capitol facing west
Yes.
because he was, from the west, and it's always been there now. So that's where you're going to have it, 1 o'clock.
Yes. And then there's big
and-
rally there and speeches. Of course, you're going to be there speaking. And then
well, don't tell them that. I mean, they might not come, but there'll be a lot of other people there, and particularly Madam Rajavi and Senator Brownback, Governor Brownback, Ambassador Brownback. He's like 3 speakers all in one. And this man right here, who's put his life at risk and put his life on the line for his country in ways that most people don't. And you'll find out about that too. So Ali Reza, I have to tell you, from the time I got involved with your movement and the entire overall movement, it's been one of the great honors of my life to be able to do this. And I truly believe that I'm going to see a free Iran without the Ayatollah, without the Shah, and with something very similar to what we have in America. And the Iranian people, I don't know if people realize what great people they are. I mean, this is a civilization that goes back to forever. And we can revive that civilization. It'll be part of the glorious rejuvenation that Donald Trump brings about. So thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, my good friend.
Thank you so much, Mayor. You have, you have been at the forefront of this, putting out the truth, shedding light on the realities of Iran when things were not like this, like today. The future seemed to be bleak at times. A lot of the facts were not known, but you just, kept at it and continued, being a strong voice for reason, a strong voice for freedom in Iran. And you have played your own role, your own part in the history of this movement for change. And that's why your role has always been very crucial.
Well,
because
thank you.
We've seen the reality on the ground, despite all of the smoke screen that has been around it.
We understand that. We both understand that, and we both understand the importance of this. And God bless you, my friend. See you tomorrow.
Thank you so much. See you tomorrow.
Well, we'll take a short break after that wonderful interview and very, very informative. And we'll be right back.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order...
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee. This is Rudy Giuliani back with you on America's Mayor Live. So now you're looking at the Capitol there. That's not where you should go tomorrow. It's the other side. That's the part of the Capitol facing east. Now, that's where the inauguration was held, as far as I know, until 1980. In 1981, in January of 1981, a president from the West called Ronald Reagan, you've heard of him, moved it around to the other side because he wanted to face the rest of America for a while. Now, it also had the advantage, as we found out when Donald Trump was inaugurated and others, in terms of disputes, about, it holds many more people. This is confined into like a, I don't know, a courtyard, a parking lot, but it's confined by the Supreme Court, the Library of Congress on the other side. So you can't. So of course, it was wonderful, but you had a limited number of people. So everyone since President Reagan has chosen the part of the Capitol, the other side of the Capitol, facing west. Now, this is probably, although I'm not a scholar on the Capitol architecture, probably the one we were looking at is the entrance to the Capitol, the official entrance to the Capitol. But it's the other side that's used for the inauguration. And if you think about it and you look at it and you study the Capitol, it's wonderful to study the Capitol. Please go to Washington and study it, even if they're a bunch of jackasses in Congress or whatever. They're really not. America has always felt that everybody in Congress was a jackass. So I don't know how true that is. Maybe that's the way you feel about your representatives. I don't know. We got some good ones and we got some bad ones. Gosh, that probably was true 100 years ago. But we got the greatest government ever on earth. And it's a creation. That's the difference. So when you look out that way, now we're looking west. We're looking to Virginia. We're looking way down there. You can see the monument, right? And way beyond that is Virginia, West Virginia, and California. But look at the extraordinary amount of space. And even with that, you don't see the tremendous amount of space. This picture doesn't allow you to see the tremendous amount of space between the steps on that side of the Capitol and the grounds in front of it. So we're looking way down. Now, I'm going to tell you, I was a lot younger then. I used to run that every day. I used to live in back of the Capitol, and I used to go down. I lived on something called Justice Court, which was right across from the Supreme Court. On the picture you're looking at, now I'm trying to figure out how you're looking at it, but to me it would be on the right side. I can see the Justice Department, which of course I lived in, way down about. If you look on my right, you'll see the Justice Department, and you'll see the Internal Revenue Service. You shouldn't see. It's not good to look at it. It makes you feel bad. But if you look down after the domed building, which is the National Archives, after the dome building, that's the United States Department of Justice. Across from it is the FBI. The other building beyond it with the columns is the Internal Revenue Service. Which would you prefer? I prefer the Justice Department.
Which one's the FTC? Isn't the...
Well, the FTC is up here. Right there. You got it.
Okay, I thought that's okay. Yeah, very good.
Great. Fine. Now, I had a friend who worked there. That's why I know it so well.
Yeah.
He used to visit me, and I used to visit him. And that's the FTC is in that building. Yeah. Right on. It's like almost like the Triangle building in New York, right?
Yeah. And you're going to have good weather tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
But then you can see the National Gallery on the left. If we go down far enough, we'll see the History Museum of the Smithsonian, which is my favorite.
What happened to the museum? I know that it had to fold, I guess, but
which one?
Replaced? The Newseum. It was called the Newseum. It wasn't a Smithsonian.
It must have been a woke something or other.
Oh, yeah, probably. That's what probably got
Yeah,
it
it was
down.
some kind of woke. I
That
have
was
no
always
idea
a
what the
fun one for
museum
us
is. I
media
mean, they shouldn't
types.
have a museum. They just have a museum. A museum is a museum, not a newseum.
Yes. Well, the Bible Museum, that's a
Now,
new one.
I do they? Now, how come I can't remember this? But that pool there, they don't use that pool for. No, they don't. They put a pool behind the around where the National Archives are for ice skating. They don't use that pool there for ice skating.
I don't think so. And
No,
also,
but you know where they do ice skating? If you go on the right, you go 3 down behind the National Archives. They put a pool. They make a pool there, and then they put an ice rink there, and it's supposed to be like a substitute for Rockefeller Center, which or the Wallman Rink created by the great Donald Trump. Of course, it's bullshit.
Oh, you know where they do skate? Georgetown, in that nice little area in
Oh
Georgetown.
yeah.
on the
4
water.
people can skate.
Oh, I know. It's pathetic.
Yeah.
I'm from Michigan, right?
Oh,
Like,
come
I
on,
know.
come on. This is a make-believe town.
Yes.
I mean, I love Washington. It's wonderful to look at. If you live there, I'm sorry. First of all, you got about a 5 times greater chance of being the victim of a crime than you do in New York. Just want to point that out. Second,
Especially if you know the Clintons well.
yeah, second, every 3 years you have a cultural activity. Maybe 4. I mean, and the restaurants compared to New York.
Well, DC is considered to be a foodie town.
Oh yeah. Make believe foodie town. Nobody comes from DC either. Like you lived in DC, right?
I did.
Where do you come from?
Michigan.
Okay.
But there are some people that do hail from DC.
Yeah, I know,
and
and they're very strange people. Where do you come from? DC.
And it's like, oh, I'm sorry.
Where do you come from? Boston. Where do you come from? New York. Where do you come from? Detroit. Where do you come from? Los Angeles. Where do you come from? Miami. Where do you come from? DC. I come from DC.
And no matter what, those kids have a good. Well, they get lucky because they get to work for the association of blah 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 blah.
Yeah, well, they get to work. They get to work and not have to go to work and not have to leave their homes. And
that's like how they come up. That's how they're like raised.
Yeah. All the government workers who we're all feeling sorry for now, who haven't shown up for work in years. Nobody even knows who they are anymore. They're all in those houses out over. You see beyond the monument. They're all working out there. There, 90% of the world.
A lot of those are still government-related things.
You wonder why when the government closes down, there's no difference, because there's no difference. I lived through a couple of government work shutdowns. I spent a Christmas with Donald Trump, President Donald Trump. Sorry, I spent a Christmas with President Donald Trump with a government work down, closed down. Oh, it was terrible.
So nothing gets done whether they're there or whether they're
And
not
then
there.
and then I as the mayor of New York, I got to impound a city council budget while my colleague and friend Peter Vallone was running for governor because he spent too much money. I had the power of impoundment, which the president is arguing he has or doesn't have. But in New York, you clearly have it in the New York City Charter, and because of the financial crisis in New York. And I impounded money for 7 months, meaning I didn't have to spend any more than the last budget. I saved so much money. I was like the leading saver of money in the world. Then Peter won the election and we had a compromise and some of the money went back. But there is a big difference. We Republicans want to save money and they want to spend money. If we spend money, we do it compromising with them so we can get something done. But that's not our objective. Our objective is a smaller government. We don't always achieve it, but that's our objective. Their objective is a Soviet style. Top down. We believe, or don't be a Republican, bottom up. You can't always do it. It's not always achievable. Sometimes it is valuable to have an overseer, but most often the great things happen from the bottom up. That's what the people who created us believed. That has to be our essential belief and our essential orientation if we're going to save our liberty. That's what's at stake right now. That's why they're going after Elon Musk. Elon Musk is trying to take apart this gigantic thing that was created, most of which is designed to take away your freedom and your money and waste it. Like all those people out there who haven't come to work in 4 years. Who is going to forget this week DJ Daniel? The Democrats are going to try to forget him, but most Americans aren't going to forget him. What a great kid. I pray and I hope that that kid thrives, because I saw something special in that kid. You know when I saw it? When he went over and congratulated the guy who got put into West Point. I think, but I'd love to talk to his father. Maybe we can find him next week, Ted or Stephen. I'd like to talk to his father. Did he do that on his own?
Oh, he definitely did.
You think so?
Yeah, he had his timing and tenor was like, he's smart.
It was so damn genuine.
Yeah.
Here's the young man. That's the young man being told he's. Oh, there he is. There's DJ. All the Republicans were sitting. I mean, all the Democrats were sitting during this.
How do you sit during that? How do you sit?
This isn't Republican. This is American. How about human?
Yes.
It's freaking human.
Even if I was planning not to, I'd have to.
I mean,
right?
if Jimmy Carter did that, or Crook Biden, or Communist Obama, I still would applaud for it.
Or what if you're the guy who's like withholding his check to a Democrat because they stand for that? Like, what kind of person is that, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they've become.
It's to the core. It's corrupt.
I mean, I know Democrats forever. They used to be nice people.
Nah.
No. Oh, come on.
You're right.
I'm gonna
Some.
say something that sounds ridiculous. Every prejudiced person says it. Some of my best friends were Democrats.
Yeah. Well, and then in the South, some of those Southern ones are a little
how
bit
about my
better than ours.
father?
How
about my father?
I think it goes
He
to
was
show,
a Democrat.
I think it goes to show how much corruption pays.
Well, here's one former. Well, I think it's safe to say former Democrat.
You couldn't pay
They're hell bent on corruption.
me.
What
in
is
the
that?
role again.
May I ask
Do
what
it.
that is?
After watching that speech, I am convinced.
I don't want to
that
say anything because I'll get in
Democrats
trouble.
Hate America. The way that they didn't stand for Laken Riley's mother, the way that they didn't stand for that little boy who has brain cancer, the way that they didn't stand for that young man who got accepted into West Point. Are you with me on this? The way that they hate America.
Is she okay?
Well, it's a Democrat.
My God.
That was a former Democrat.
Now, was she shocked by the way they acted?
Yes, she's a Democrat.
So she was normal before that happened, and they just knocked her for a loop, right?
Yeah, or she's been a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. My goodness, poor thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, that shows if you're a Democrat now, change. Just change before it all falls apart. So become a Republican, or do what I did. I stopped being a Democrat in 1971. It was foreign policy, because it looked to me like they were cozying up to the Soviets because they had so many damn communists in their party. And second, it looked to me then like the one thing that I sort of hung on to was they cared about the poor. It seemed to me they were stealing all the money going to the poor. And I was a prosecutor then, and I was finding that out. The money in the Great Society all went to Democrat politicians. Because if the money from the Great Society went to the poor areas of America, the so-called ghettos, there'd be no ghettos left. They'd all be gone. They'd all be like Monaco. Or they got billions. No. Every member of Congress who came in to Congress with a net worth of $2 million or less, who leaves with a higher net worth, like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, should be put under a major investigation. And you will find that considerably more than half of them turn out to be crooks. Charlie Rangel worth $27 million. How much is Schumer worth? He's never done an honest work in his life. He's never worked for anything but the government.
Why are they
We
not?
used to call it, excuse the expression, being on the government tit. Schumer's never been off it. Somebody says he's worth, I don't know, millions?
Why are there never investigations? I think the American
Because
people wonder
well, I think that's a Democrat-Republican conspiracy. I don't think nobody wants to investigate McConnell and how much money he was getting from his communist father-in-law.
What is going on?
Let's go take a look at McConnell, see how much he was getting. You can't prosecute him anymore because he doesn't know where he is. But he sure changed his position on China once the money started flowing in. Ain't gonna fool me. Yeah, you're not gonna fool me, Mitch. A lot of people you fool, you don't fool me. I know why you turned on Trump. Because Trump turned on China. And that was the gravy train. So, DJ Daniels, I hope someday you get into politics. I hope you're the president. God, you'd be a lot better than... the Gold Star families finally have some resolution. President Trump did a conference call with them, Zoom call, conference call, whatever, all 13, and discussed with them the capture of the guy who led the suicide, led this what turned out to be a suicide bombing, but this guy lived, who killed their sons and daughters, 13 of them, and. The reality is Biden could have arrested this guy 3 years ago. He was well known to the CIA, well known to the FBI. All Trump had to do is go there and get him. Now, why did Biden not arrest him? Because it would have been politically damaging. It would have revived a reminder of the worst collapse, the worst cowardice in an American presidency in history. His turning his back and leaving Americans to die on the field, and leaving those who helped America to die on the field, namely the people in Afghanistan who helped us. They're not the refugees who are here. Refugees who are here may very well be the very terrorists who tried to kill us. We let the people there die. Not only that, we turned over the ammunition to them to do it. You got a country with 4 terrorist groups surrounding the country of Afghanistan. You pull out the troops before the civilians. Now, the civilians are Americans, and the ones you're worried about are the Afghans who helped the Americans, of which there were many. Now they're at the mercy of the 4 terrorist groups. Now that's insane. Now you want to go beyond insanity? You leave behind at the Bagram Air Base $85 billion in sophisticated armaments and unsophisticated armaments like guns and tanks, which will now be taken by 4 terrorist groups, both allied and fighting with each other. But the one thing they're sure of is they want to kill the people who helped the Americans. You not only abandon them, you put the instruments of death into their enemies' hands. In other words, you murdered them, Biden and Milley. So you wonder why we think Milley should be tried as a traitor? If that guy didn't realize what he was doing, he didn't deserve to have 4,320 medals on him. He had so many medals on him, he was going like this. Did you ever see him again? They had a picture of him like this with all the medals on, including the Cub Scout medal. And Eisenhower was 5. Because Eisenhower was a great American and a great general, and that guy was a sack of shit. He was going to warn China if Trump was going to attack him. I don't know. Didn't we hang people like that? I thought we did, but... So Mohammed Sharifullah, I love these names. Yeah, this is really good for phonetic spelling and pronunciation. Maybe we return to that. This is how I'm able to pronounce it. I have no idea if I pronounced that name right, but it's Mohammed Sharifullah. He's the guy who killed or led the attack on the 13 Americans who were killed that didn't have to be killed if the Democrats didn't cheat in the 2020 election and put in a phony president, Joe the Demented Biden. Remember how in the old days they'd have Peter the Great and Isaac the Fool and all these names for people? It should be Joe the Demented. Although maybe Trump is right, Joe the Crook. But crook is too mild. I put a lot of crooks in jail. I never put a massive traitor who sold out his country in jail. I wanted to. I tried really hard.
It's never
I'm
good
still
when
willing to do it.
It's never good when your word cloud is like demented, crook, criminal, corrupt, perverted.
Like little children touching the hair on my legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, terrible grandfather, bad family man.
Yeah. Hey, never meet with your granddaughter, Joe.
Disgusting.
Oh, I'm a big family man, except for my one granddaughter who I don't recognize and who I want to torture by making her left out of Christmas and everything else. Oh, and if I did try to bring her in, the stepmother in chief would take my ice cream away.
Order with a diary.
Doesn't everybody shower?
It's crazy, right?
I was going to say, doesn't everybody shower with their daughter?
He never denied it.
What's wrong with you, American people? How did you vote for him? Maybe you didn't vote for him. Maybe you didn't vote for him. How could you have voted for that guy? I know him for I don't know how long. The day I met him, I thought he was an effing fool. I have told people, I swear to God, long before he was president, he was the dumbest man I ever met, including people out of politics, including my family, including my family's enemies, including people I met in the U.S. Attorney's office and the mayor's office and in politics. He was singularly the dumbest bastard I ever met. And then he turned out to be demented and a traitor and a crook. I don't know what else was wrong with him.
And perverted.
I don't know what else was wrong with him. What damage he did to this country. Oh my goodness.
Absolutely. We're almost dying.
Well, if we could chop Rob's head off, we could see Paula Krauss self, who reacted on Thursday to the capture of Ryan Knaus's accused killer. Come on. Mohammed. So you can see how the name is spelled too. See if you can do any better than me. Sharifullah. And she said, it's one limb on a tree of wickedness. Man, beautiful, beautiful expression,
It's
Paula. And thank
Sharifullah.
God you got some degree of closure. I know it's hard if you haven't lost someone to murder. I've just dealt with that so often. I understand it really, really well. This is very important to have gotten the person who did the murder. And Biden deprived them of that for 4 cruel years because he's a bastard. He's a narcissistic creep. And all he cared about was himself and his political survival. You know something? Politically. And the Democrats don't have anybody left with this wisdom, including make-believe Carville, that clown jackass.
I used to like him.
Maybe if he apologized, he'd have gone up like that. I'm going to give you an example. When the last Democrat worth anything was around, John F. Kennedy, he apologized for the Bay of Pigs. He could have blamed it on Eisenhower. Might have been partially justified to do it. I tend to think the deep state conspiracy undermined him and Eisenhower. I'm almost certain of that. He didn't. He stood up like a man. He said, my administration, he's only in office a little bit. I mean, today, any Democrat politician would have said, even, like if it happened 20 years from now, Trump did it. Trump did it. Kennedy said, it's my responsibility. It's my mistake. He went up like this. boom, 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 boom. They don't trust the American people. They really do. They really do think. So they call us deplorables. Honestly, good old Democrat friends, they think you're dumber. They think you're dumber than we are because you buy their bullshit. And you can't think your way through it. They think they got you brainwashed. That's why they want to bring in all the illegals, and they don't care how many they kill. Maybe they can get a couple of Democrats out of there who don't think. You think they respect you? Like hell, they don't respect you. If they respected you, they'd be for school choice. Since 70% of blacks are for school choice, but every black politician is paid off by the teachers union, which is why a lot of them leave with being worth $30 million.
Absolutely.
This week, there's going to be a Saudi summit on the Ukraine, and the Ukraine is going to be involved. But Zelensky opposes still with all of the concessions that he's made, including now to give us the mineral rights. And I think he got a little nervous when Putin came in and said, I'll make the deal with you, Trump. If they won't give you minerals, I'll make a deal over minerals. Putin may be a very evil man. He may be even considerably more evil than Zelensky, who is not an angel. But he's sure a hell of a lot smarter. Wow. No comparison. Much, much shrewder. And if you underestimate him, the world may be gone. So don't underestimate him, please. Okay? Just listen to Trump. He's got the measure of Putin. I guarantee you, he's got the measure of Putin. And I've seen enough to know that. I mean, do I have to tell you that Putin never invaded under Trump? Well, you need much. A lot of rumors going around that America wants Zelensky out. My good friend, General Keith Kellogg, says he's unaware of any talks to have him out. Keith, get more aware. Of course we want him out. Well, it would be crazy to have him in. The guy's our enemy, the enemy of the American people. He covered up the worst crimes committed at the highest levels of our government and his. He's covering up for the biggest crooks in his country. All he's going to carry on. Whatever happens in the peace is the same massively corrupt government that has afflicted the Ukrainian people forever. How are we serving the American people by leaving another oligarch sucker up as the head of the government? You know why people don't want to give any more money to Ukraine? They don't know where it's going. And they're right. It's one of, I don't know how you rate him, but it's one of the most corrupt governments in the world. He's been running it, never did anything about it. He's a beneficiary of it. He's become a millionaire, billionaire from the biggest crook in Russia, in the Ukraine. I love you, Keith, but stop sucking around with Zelensky. You're dealing with bad people. Best thing for the Ukrainian people, and I think I love him even more than you do. Get rid of that bum. Get rid of the crooks. Start an honest government. That would be a great, great, powerful support for your security. Because Americans would uniformly love to support you if you were an honest government. But when we don't know who the hell we're giving the money to, and he tells us, I don't know what happened to $100 billion. And we know he came from the biggest crook in Ukrainian history, just about, Kolomoisky. How do we trust it? Trump gave you a way over time to solidify this with a joint financial arrangement between us. That was ingenious. It was intended to give you an opportunity to become honest. And we can measure it. Right now, I can't measure your honesty. I have no idea what happens to the money going to Ukraine. If you think you do, you're out of your mind. Well, daylight savings time.
Thank God. Will it be permanent this time?
Well, you know something? A 3-year congressional effort to make daylight saving time permanent appears to have halted. They took a poll. We don't decide, polls decide. And half the American people think we should have it. Half the American people think we shouldn't have it. Do you think we have leaders? They can't decide either.
Yeah.
So now they're I may lose my little congressional seat. And if I lose my little congressional seat, I'm nobody. I may lose, isn't that most congressmen? I may lose my little congressional seat.
No.
Now that I have my congressional seat, when I go in church, they put me up front. I get invited to all the parties. They never want me at the parties because I'm a complete jackass. That's your typical member of the United States Congress, Republican or Democrat. This is why we have these petty fights. And now in Congress is a little, in the Senate's a little different.
Yeah, they're a little bit. They're just as bad, just a little bit slow.
I'm a United States Senator. And on the issue of a daylight savings time, and then he leans over to his chief of staff. Senator, it's 50-50. I'm in favor of it. And I realize that many people, well, I'm in favor of time. Not daylight saving time, not non-daylight saving time. I'm in favor of both because you're in favor of both. Thank you. That's Senator Kerry. I voted for it before I voted against it. So I'm on your side and I'm on your side. And I'm against America. So it looks like it's dead. So I don't know what that means. Does that mean we're going to continue to have it? Or we're not going to continue to have it?
Continue to have it would be my guess. That's like the status quo of the situation.
So now you got to educate me on this because I don't follow this as much as I should. Was the consensus that we should get rid of daylight savings time?
I thought that's what everyone wanted. I'm surprised to hear 50-50, to be honest.
Everybody I talked to, we had the conversation today. I had a conversation today with somebody.
So you're saying that you're all in the camp of it being darker in the morning and it stays brighter later?
Absolutely.
So what we're leaving out,
the farmers, the
farmers. Not just the farmers.
It's all AI now anyway.
Not just the farmers.
So in March of 2022,
parents don't want their kids at the bus stop. They don't want it to be dark out.
Well, they need to stop having school at 5 a.m.
So in March of 2022, the Senate voted unanimously. They never voted unanimously on anything to make daylight saving time permanent. Then the effort was stalled in the House after the lawmakers couldn't reach a consensus. Then 16 senators in January made a new push to make daylight saving time permanent, but Congress has held no hearings. And we're going to resume daylight saving time on Sunday.
In the right direction, though. This time.
And we changed the day, don't we? We used to do it on Saturday. But we used to do it on Saturday, didn't we?
It is. Oh, well, it's Saturday.
Oh, when you're saying
Sunday
we do it
morning.
we're doing it on midnight as we go from Saturday into Sunday.
Yeah, usually isn't it 2 p.m.?
So when we come back,
2 a.m.?
when we do or do not come back from Washington.
As of now, we will be losing an additional hour.
Now we're coming back for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, so you spring forward and you fall backwards. That's how I remember it.
So supporters of remaining on daylight saving time argue it would lead to brighter evenings and more economic activity during the winter months.
Absolutely.
Critics say it would force children to walk to school in darkness.
What did I say?
Since the measure would mean experiencing sunrise an hour later.
It wouldn't even be darkness, though. It
would be darkness. I remember.
But you also have rush hour traffic on the way home.
Trump in December said the Republican Party will use its best efforts to end daylight saving time, which he called inconvenient and very costly to our nation.
And Ted disagrees with that.
I didn't say I
apparently.
disagree.
On Thursday, he said, it looks like no action is likely. A lot of people like it one way. A lot of people like it the other way. It's very even. And usually I find when that's the case, what else do we have to do?
True leader. That is speaking like a true leader.
I agree with that.
He had his way in his head, and then he took the poll.
Government of the people, for the people, by the people. If in fact the people are split on this, this is not an issue where there's some sort of degree of moral knowledge that you might have or understanding, where as a leader you got to take a
like men and women's sports, for example.
Yeah, like I tell you the truth, I have no idea if it's better to have it or not have it.
I don't think it's that simple. I don't think it is a better or better. It's weighing the two, the pros and cons, and maybe you come to a point where
you guys are much more. You two are much more.
I'm animated.
Well, and it's
what,
like,
okay.
Whether you want.
Here's my suggestion.
Okay, so this is Rob. What do you think, Rob?
This is what my suggestion. I think yes, it hurts the country economically for all the reasons we mentioned. I think
what hurts the change.
The fact that it does not stimulate activity in the latter part of the day. It should keep this is
because it gets dark. I mean,
it gets dark.
Now I got to tell you, it doesn't stop me when it gets. I don't feel any more energized or de-energized if it's daylight savings time, not non-daylight savings time, or oopity doopity savings time.
Yes,
energy comes from me, not the stupid.
This is what I would say.
Like if I lived in one of those countries in Norway, or I wouldn't kill myself.
Well, remember, this is
a lot of people would though.
This is just what I believe. This is just what I believe. I believe that it is negatively impacting the economy. A, B. I think people, whether they know it or not, are suffering from light deprivation related depression as a result of it.
Agree.
And then this is what my solution.
You can look at all the lights. You just buy one of these damn things.
Natural.
Show them
the vitamin D.
Show them. You get one of those things.
Vitamin D production.
If you're suffering from light deprivation,
you won't get
buy an amaranth or what's that one? The big one there. The big one, like the moon, right here. We got a moon here.
So I suggest implementing
yours. No, you're looking the wrong way, Ted. That one right there.
I'm turning it around.
Yeah, I want you to see that the lights we have here.
I suggest implementing it for one presidential term.
Why don't we send these to Norway? Why don't we send them to Denmark in exchange for Greenland?
All right, you want a little?
Yeah, you see, look at that. Get one of those things. Get one of those things.
One presidential term.
See that one there right there? I'm trading that with the King of Denmark for Greenland.
And do a controlled experiment.
He's probably has some kind of. I don't want to say anything. I'm going to get really in trouble now. But he's I don't think much of kings. I'm not big on kings. Man, I kind of think I'm an American, like they want to put the Shah. Some people want to put the Shah back in Iran. Are you crazy? Are you effing crazy? The Shah was our tool. The Shah, if you ever read about him, was a genetic deterioration from his father. The son, have you ever heard of him? Yeah, right. He's going to lead Iran right into the hands of the Iranian Guard, who he's playing ball with right now, because a lot of rich, really powerful Iranians that took and sucked blood out of Iran want him back. Screw that. We haven't fought against Iran all this time to put. Oh, they're not quite as bad as the Ayatollah, but they're despots. They're killers, they're murderers, and they're thieves. Back. Shah, gone. No more Shahs, no more kings. The future is of the people, for the people, and by the people. You want to go back? Go be allies with somebody else. That's exactly what Vance told Europe. You want to screw free speech? We're not going to pay for it. You go do it. Go ahead. Let's talk about it.
Right. So you implement the daylight savings time as Trump was. You do it for half a decade. You get the data points, and then you have your answer.
Do you know what he said? Do you know what he said? Yeah. Do you understand what he said?
Well, what I do know, Mayor, is he started with, I believe it impacts economic activity.
Yes, that's true.
I don't know that we make
religion
decisions based on what you believe.
Credo.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's
do you know what believe?
McKinsey.
Light deprivation related depression.
But you're picking up the hour in the morning. So wouldn't it just, in a way, wouldn't this actually compel folks to get up earlier in the day? And it may actually increase economic activity because more folks are going to start the day sooner.
People are going to die driving home in the dark.
Credo.
People will die.
That means I believe.
Yeah.
That's the way that Nicene Creed begins.
Stephen says people are going to die.
Credo in unum Deum Patrum. I believe in one God. I believe is a matter of religion, not science. I believe. So why do I want to rely on your belief? Give me facts, not belief.
A McKinsey report has found
The Kinsey
that-
report.
My
The
spokesperson is kicking me
Kinsey
right now.
report made us all into moral reprobates. It's created a country of we chop kids' genitals off.
Okay. So the Rand Corporation
Yeah, that's another one. They want us to be all
has
communists.
a report out.
Oh
I'm a
yeah, right.
President
I
Trump.
believe in you know what I really think, Elon is getting them all. All these people like the Rand Corporation and Accenture and to do all the reports for 10 million, 20 million, they're all getting kicked out.
Yeah.
I never saw a good one.
Yeah. You didn't use these. Did you rely on those
I
reports?
took over a city in the worst condition of any city in America.
The biggest city.
And the last thing in the world I would have done is ask the Rand Corporation to tell me how to do it.
Tell me
Or-
what's wrong here.
I mean, let's face it. They had 100 years to tell us how to do it, and they didn't. They just suck blood. They suck money out of government.
Well, that all might be true, but I'm right about this.
Any
I know it.
politician who says, I want to study, what do we need him for?
Yeah, let's form a committee.
Yeah, let's form a committee, right?
Case study. We should do a study.
You know, I am perfectly, we're going to have to discuss this privately because I'm perfectly neutral on this.
Where do you stand on daylight savings? Comment. Definitely tell us. We'll do our own little poll in the comments, please.
But
Or
we do want to hear the mayor's.
Well, you think the president's wrong that the poll was 50-50?
I do.
No,
Everyone I talk to.
Okay.
That's
Everyone
just
I talk
Steven-
to.
Hey,
President's wrong.
Even,
Okay.
it's not,
Steven says
tomorrow, Sunday when we see him, we'll say that you just,
That's all. No big deal.
we'll say that, we'll say Ted and I agree with him, but
No,
we know.
I agree with how he
We'll
originally
even
felt.
take you with, we'll point to you and say he disagrees.
Steven here, he disagrees with you, Mr. President.
No, I think he should stick
Steven, would
to
you
his
like
guns. I think he
even
should stick
Trump
to
has
his
said, I
guns.
agree with the polls when they agree with me.
The president is spot on.
I love the polls that I agree
He
with.
had his thoughts on it. He took a poll. He realized the American people are split. So now he's going back to the drawing table.
I
Need
think
some more polls on
How
it.
did he take the polls?
more polls. I generally think you shouldn't govern by polls, but I agree with Ted. This is an issue in which I would govern by polls, largely because I don't have my own firm
Thought.
I don't really understand if it would be better, worse, or no different.
Better is.
I've had a lot of thought on it, and my conclusion that is going to be better. But I could be wrong, and that's
So
why
you
I
know
think
something? I tell you what, I'd leave it alone until I was sure, because I've been living under it for so long, and it doesn't seem to have made a difference for me.
But wait a minute, aren't there places?
Although now that it's springing forward, maybe we'd make the change right now.
Well,
to
for
avoid-
one day.
to avoid Sunday.
But once you get used to it,
Aren't
Exactly.
there already places in the country or in the world
Wait,
where they
wait,
don't
wait.
have it? Arizona does not have it.
Well, Arizona does something different. I don't know if they don't have.
No,
it,
they
but
don't-
at
I don't know
certain
what
times
they do.
don't recognize
but
it.
does it mean that it means that we could do our show outside a little more, right?
Yes,
It'd be darker later.
that's better for us.
That is-
See what I
That's
mean?
good. So there you go. There's
That's
a
a
reason
strong
we're
reason to
we're
do it, yeah.
we're in favor of keeping it the way it is because we can do our show outside later.
Starting.
We
tomorrow.
might as well be selfish about this because nobody knows what the right answer is.
Well, the bricklayers can lay bricks later. The shoppers can shop later, and the priest and the counselors can do that later. I
But what's
priests
wrong?
maybe
So what's
not, I
wrong
don't
with
know.
it? Oh,
No.
oh, you want to keep daylight savings time for good?
Yes.
Well, here's another thing. In the morning, everybody knows where they're
But I thought Trump wanted to do away with it.
In the morning, everybody knows where they're going, right? If in the morning, you're either going to work or you're going to school, right? That's all that matters. So you already know what your destination
but
is.
you-
But once your working school day
If
is
you're
over,
trans
that's when
Nicaragua,
make
you
your
could be going out
decisions.
to knife people, kill people, steal from people, rape people.
Well, we're going to stop crime with
Well,
law
it's easier to
enforcement.
knife people at night when it's dark out.
No,
That's true.
they don't care.
But it's
I
easier.
mean, the trans Nicaragua go around with those little bikes and they steal your thing in the middle of the
We're gonna
day.
get them out.
Yeah, and their opinion on the matter shouldn't matter anyway.
I don't even know. I
The
don't
Tren
even,
de Araguas?
Yeah.
Yeah. 'cause
yeah,
my
I mean,
opinion
I don't
should.
know.
Yes.
I like to take a look at it has to be that more murders take place at night than in the
Of
daytime.
course.
But in New York, there have been a hell of a lot of daytime murders,
There have been broad daylight.
Yeah.
That's right.
like in Times Square.
Middle of the day.
Not when I was mayor,
Not,
but
not,
you
not in
know,
the 90s.
when Democrats
Giuliani.
when Democrats run. there.
Giuliani's New York. Someone mentioned that they don't miss New York. They miss Giuliani's New York.
Sometimes
People,
in
isn't
New
that
York-
nice?
sometimes
That's
in New
really
York,
nice.
You can't tell the difference between night and
I
day.
actually
It's-
asked him to do a video.
Someone told me that not too long ago.
You can't tell the difference between night and day in New York anyway. It's like in nighttime, it's like daytime, especially if you're in Times Square.
Yeah, I don't. Look at all. I mean, maybe it's true that most of it takes place at night because it is more shocking when it is daytime. You know, when the
Yeah.
newspaper at noontime, a woman was shot, or
the Mangione assassination, which was like 6 a.m. at Starbucks,
That
right?
was more like dawn. Yeah, dawn.
Dawn,
That was like
right.
dawn. Some light still out there.
These are all outliers.
So actually,
Yeah.
that would have been prevented, perhaps, with.
So I got to point out, because it always has amazed me, and I don't get an answer to this, that the king of Jordan doesn't take Palestinians, even though his wife is Palestinian. Now, there's been a crack. He agreed with President Trump to take 2,000 Palestinian children. Not a lot, not much. So far, he's taken 29. Man, that guy doesn't like the Palestinians at all. How does he talk to his wife? He won't take Palestinians for years. They won't take Palestinians in Jordan. Now, there is a good reason. The Palestinians killed his grandfather, and they'd probably kill him too if there were enough of them there. So maybe he says to his wife, I can't have your relatives around because they want to kill me. I know why Sisi doesn't want Palestinians in Egypt, because the Palestinian Liberation Organization, the Hamas, all emerged from the Palestinian Brotherhood. Arafat was an Egyptian who, if he were alive, would be dying to kill Sisi. So Sisi says, you know, I think it's better if I don't have these Palestinians here who want to kill me. I got enough people who want to kill me. I don't think, let the liberals in America take them.
There's too much talk about killing.
But we are so unrealistic, or we distort history so much. It's a sin. It really is. It's an absolute sin. I mean, a matter of logic is, if the Egyptians don't want them, which is where they came from, and the Jordanians don't want them, which is the other place they came from, there must be something wrong with them. Yeah. Maybe we shouldn't want them. And maybe the Israelis are right not to have them next to them. Barnard, sorry. It's barn, like B-A-R-N. Barn, it's like a barn. Barnard. Used to be all women. I never went there it was all women when I was in college, but it wasn't the women's college that sort of attracted me. You get my meaning? Okay. So now it's men and women, and it's completely hates Jews. It's smaller than Columbia, so its percentage of Jew haters is greater. And it's having all kinds of demonstrations now with these totally frightening looking jackasses with white things on their head. And do they know that the reason that Arafat and all those freaks wore that is to keep sand out of their ears? There isn't much sand in New York, jerks. What are you doing with all that white crap on your head? Those white towels. And so they arrested some of the people at Barnard. And of course, the rally has been going on for 3 days now because they set them free. It's like a minor interruption in the rally. Meanwhile, they're destroying property. I don't know if they've burned anything yet. That's going to happen pretty soon. Christopher Holmes, 26, is a serious troublemaker who was previously arrested when the NYPD stormed Columbia University Hamilton Hall last April. He's been arrested again for smashing glass, but he was let free. Why would you go free if you smash glass? I don't remember too many of the January 6 people that smashed glass. Well, Barnard is... Oh, there was a bomb threat at Barnard. Barnard. Now men and women, used to be female, never attracted too many men.
Barnyard without the Y.
Okay. Bezos is in a battle with the Washington Post. He owns it. They don't like the fact that he would like to do neutral editorials, emphasizing a free market economy. Why? Because WAPO has been a communist piece of shit for about 20 years. That's why. Didn't he know that? They have never, ever, 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 ever endorsed a Republican candidate for president. Ever.
A little biased.
So why don't we just say, rag of Democrat National Committee. Now, to Bezos' credit, he wants to change that. Well, his editor-in-chief has quit. Good riddance. Half his staff is like walking out on him. And now, beyond that, fine, they should walk out. David Shipley resigned, communist in chief. Never endorsed a Republican, ever? What, did they actually endorse Dukakis? They don't mention Dukakis. But in any event, he is in a battle with the woke left to try to make it into a somewhat neutral editorial page. And of course, a news page should be neutral. I mean, I don't know. He's talking about the editorial page being neutral. I hope Bezos really is focusing on what journalism is about. I mean, I don't really give a damn if your editorial page is left of Marx. What I care about is when it infects your news coverage, as it does with the Times. Every article in the Times is now an editorial page article. Trump is a bum on the front page. You want to call Trump a bum, put it on the editorial page. So I hope Bezos understands journalism well enough to do this. The battle over the editorial page is fine. The real battle is over the first page. That should be who, what, when, where, and why. That's the first lesson you learn in journalism school. Who, what, when, where, why. Not your opinion. I don't give a damn about some jackass reporter's opinion. You want to do opinions, I want to know the credibility and the background and the gravitas of the person delivering that opinion to me. Not some half-assed reporter who just is picking up the facts. How is that better than my opinion or my friends? What I'm telling you is classical journalism. It isn't like some kind of novel theory. The theory of journalism is news pages, neutral presentation, who, what, when, where, why. Editorial page is where you put your opinions, which we get to evaluate over a period of time. That has completely been bastardized, particularly by the Times, particularly by the Washington Post. They're the biggest offenders of that. I can take you out. I can pull out the front page of the Times today and show you that everything on the front page should be on the editorial page. Maybe next week I'll do that. I did one on the plane the other day, and I meant to actually present it to you. I put all red things on it, and I didn't do it. So I like this fight that Bezos is having, but I'd like to see it directed to the news pages. Now, maybe he means to, and I'm being unfair. But I also get the feeling that maybe he doesn't understand journalism well enough. I mean, the guy's a genius, and he's a tremendously successful man, but you don't understand everything. The battle should be with the reporters. Because most of us can look at an editorial page and we can evaluate it. Where we really screw people is when we put little things in, Trump, a nervous Donald Trump. Well, who the hell knows if he really was nervous? Or it's the reporter trying to zip. I can't tell you how often they would do that to me. They put in some adjective or adverb and put it in the editorial page. I can go battle with that. Well, I always pick on New York. California just sentenced a guy named Trevor Lee Colombano, 38. He was sentenced for sexually assaulting, bludgeoning, and permanently disfiguring a mother during a daytime, we were talking about daytime before, attack in front of a young daughter. So, okay, the judge is Superior Court Judge Dana Simmons in Santa Rosa. You know what the sentence was? Could have been 9 years in prison. The guy's walking free. That judge released a guy who sexually assaulted, bludgeoned, and permanently disfigured a mother in front of her child in the middle of the day. The victim was walking her dog on a public street in Sonoma County and minding her business when she was attacked in front of her 13-year-old daughter. The guy's walking the street now, looking for another one to do it too. Can we remove that judge? I don't know who the judge is. I don't know if the judge is a Republican, a Democrat, a communist, or a freaking weirdo pervert. Gone. How in the name of God do you release somebody who just sexually assaulted and disfigured a woman in front of a 13-year-old child and let the person walk free? I have no idea what the record of this person was. I don't care. So it's not just in New York that we have these crazy, wacky judges. We have got to find a way to remove them. Things have gotten too bad in this country that we let people like this determine our safety. Do you know how many people have been killed in our city, raped in our city, beaten in our city, in New York City, which used to be my city, because of the incompetence or liberal attitudes or sick attitudes or communist attitudes or perverted attitudes of our judges? More than you can count. There has to be a way to stop that. It's gone beyond judicial independence to the safety of the public. Cuomo is running for mayor, and he is going to reform the city. He's going to fix it. He's going to fix it from all the problems he created for it, because he is the prime architect of the bail law, the juvenile law, the discovery law that have made the city considerably more dangerous than before he was governor. He also is the architect of changing the parole guidelines. So there are 43 cop killers walking free because of Andrew Cuomo. So maybe he's going to reform. He's going to say, I can reform it best because I did it. And if you're old, you better leave New York because he's coming after you. He hasn't gotten everybody that's old yet. Those nursing homes are going to say, Andrew, we're not making enough money. Will you send people here that can die so we can get more money? So I'm glad I'm 80. I left. He just sent me to a nursing home immediately. Well, there's plenty of more to cover. It's unfortunate. It's the weekend. We're going to be back with you on Monday. Watch for us tomorrow in Washington. We'll get a chance to give a speech about freedom. I love to give speeches about freedom. What's more important than freedom? Nothing. Nothing. It's your God-given right. So, God bless the people of Israel, the people of Ukraine, and the people we'll be with tomorrow of Iran. Of course, the people of our great country. And God bless America. We will see you at 7 o'clock on Monday. And then we'll see you at 8 o'clock here on X. And maybe we'll see you during the weekend. Let's see what happens. God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common